All right, should be live. Give that a minute. Hello guys, welcome back to my stream. Happy Wednesday. Today we're going to be working on ZoBee and just trying to render as much of her texturing as possible so we can get her out before Vanguard comes to the league. And let's jump right into it. So I'm going to go ahead and play some music. Put the volume down for me. And all right, let's get going. So my goals for today are just to try and get as much of her texture completed as possible. There's some adjustments I want to make to the model because I realized the hat is a bit smaller than on the concept. And I think I'm going to adjust that after I finish the texture, since the model, like, in terms of like the shapes and the like UVs and all that, everything is good. It's just a matter of like slightly adjusting some of the proportions. And I believe the hat, it's just the hat, I believe. Oh, and I need to fix that hair strand UV. I'm just working on the hair. This is kind of a tough color because it's not really like a natural hair color. So what I could do is work in grayscale and then like just do a gradient. But I'm gonna try and just soldier through with just coloring. Sorry, my DPI is a bit higher than I expected. Let's try the grayscale, actually. Let's see what that looks like. And then I'm gonna pump up the levels for more contrast. All right. So this way I'm able to focus a lot more on the actual like material to make it look like hair, instead of worrying about all the colors and keeping things nice and pretty. I just have to focus on one thing. Also, I need to add that green trim. Turn off the hair. Might be a bit tedious, but I believe this is better than trying to select through the UVs, because the UVs are kind of split up to different chunks. And then I want one here, and green there. A little bit of extra. Then I'm probably going to paint some of the edges to be a bit better. I should have the hair separated below. That makes it easier for me. No stuff blocking my view. And then just cleaning up this edge. Okay. Cool. Now we got that green trim, the green edge. Let's bring back the hair and work on some of that. I'm just throwing in some random strokes, kind of add some shape to the hair. I may go back and change these strokes later. Pretty much rendering hair as I normally do. If you guys saw my Katarina ASU stream, one of the ones where I was texturing, you can see the process is a bit similar. I don't remember if I did her hair in color or straight up grayscale, but this is how you can also do it in grayscale if I didn't show. Okay, I feel like the front bangs are good. I'm gonna add the gradient and kind of show you guys what that looks like so far. So I'm just gonna color pick from the concept. Make sure those colors are consistent. And I want to get a much darker value there. So you can see like kind of a bit of a different workflow when it comes to grayscale. That we're not having to worry about the color at the same time as the texture. And you can just focus on that material. And so I can go back and paint on the paint layer underneath the grayscale and make sure that my colors are still in grayscale. and I can continue just painting while seeing the colors at the same time. So you can also do that as well. Although I do find it's a little bit distracting. So I usually just prefer to paint without the gradient turned on. But that option is available as well. I feel like that's decent for the front. And then I'm just going to switch over to the back side and just start painting some strands. I'm not really too worried about being super accurate when it comes to hair strands compared to the concept. All that really matters is like the larger shapes. So this hair strand, for example, kind of needs to look like it's curling into the main chunk, and then this one as well. Gene Keys, hello. Hi Martinez, or Martinez. Nice to have you here. You'll have to tell me which way is the right way to say your name. Is it Martinez or Martinez? So I can say it correctly. Second, so Martinez. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm just plopping down highlights primarily where the hair sticks out the most in terms of the height on the 3D model. And then where it kind of just blends into itself, it'll be a much darker color. Because obviously it's kind of casting shadows into itself. Yeah, just kind of creating a darker strand or darker line here to make it look like it's separated. Martinez. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. I guess now is a better time than never to bring it up, but if anybody didn't know the whole debacle with what's happening at Riot, that they laid off like 300 or 530 employees, and they also at the same time are canceling Riot Forge. And hi Moonboy, thank you for joining the stream. But yeah, what was it? They got rid of Riot Forge. The LOR team is getting cut once again. And I'm not sure what else I'm missing, but it's pretty tragic news. I know there was like a lot of talented people that were, most of them were kind of recent hires. I think like maybe 2 or 3 years. Some of them were just 1 year and they were hired like, or let go I did see quite a few concept artists as well that were also let go, like Tart. Tart, I know, is the same person who did the Winter Wonder Lilia concept, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was really sad to see her let go. And yeah. Really sucks that Riot Forge is no longer being supported, because I felt like the Rune King game was really cool. It brought a lot of cool games and like new experiences for us to have for our beloved champions. Like, we wouldn't have had like young Gangplank, like Gangplank in his prime, or known about the Alawi and Gangplank relationship, Isolde, and kind of the Viego backstory. Although we kind of knew something about that, but we knew a lot about it, I guess, from that was the whole Sentinel event. And then we had Braum for some reason being in Bilgewater, but we also got like really cool 3D models and textures and kind of new ways of looking at each champion. And I feel like maybe some of the texturing artists, or some of the artists at Riot, kind of learned a bit from how they textured those champions differently for this style of game for the Rune King. Like, most notably, the golds were kind of rendered with a mix of like different colors, like greens and stuff. Like if you look at Gangplank's sword or his gun, the models like really emphasize the silhouette of the character as opposed to just relying on textures to kind of get things looking somewhat good in game. It was like heavily relied on the silhouette of the character and making sure the topology also worked with that. I mean, obviously I don't know like how experienced some of the artists at Riot are compared to, I think Airship Syndicate was the studio that did the Rune King game, but the guy who did the Warhammer stuff got laid off too. Big loss there. Yeah. I don't really know much about Warhammer or who that specific person is, but definitely a lot of talented people that were let off, which is really sad. And I felt like it was probably more of a failure of leadership, because they kind of made themselves too big, too ambitious, and they had to scale down a lot as a result. And instead of, I don't know, like some of the higher ups taking a little bit of a budget cut or whatever from their own salary, they just kind of were like, screw it, we're just gonna get rid of a bunch of people. Which, I mean, it's understandable. Obviously I'm not like super well versed in how to handle a company, so I don't know, maybe they know something I don't. But at the same time, I can understand, like, there's been an example of somebody who was in power in leadership position who sacrificed their own salary because they believed it was their fault. It wasn't the employee's fault, which obviously it's not. I just think Riot took on too many stuff that they couldn't handle. I mean, it got us great results. We got like really cool games and stuff. So, I mean, it was a good run, I guess. But it's just kind of sad to see that we might not get more stuff like that again. And who knows if we'll ever have the return of those types of games with Riot's IP. gonna plop down the gradient and see how we're looking. Okay, not bad. In a way, it's also kind of demotivating in a way, because like all these talented people got in, they were living the dream, you know, of, you know, everybody has to get into Riot Games and work as an artist. And then, just like that, they lost it. It's a part of life, I guess, but it's definitely not encouraging. So I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, supposedly they had the biggest budget of the year for this year, I believe, approved, or last year or something. And we might not see the results. We should be seeing the results of that soon, hopefully. Especially after they made this huge, massive budget cut. I shouldn't expect League to be the exact same game it was before the budget cut. So I definitely have much higher expectations, and I'm sure everybody in the community does as well, all the players. So I hope they're able to bring that to fruition. So as per usual, I'm doing kind of that bell curve with the highlight, just keeping the highlights pretty concentrated at the middle of the model. And then kind of curving it out. I think I was kind of an autopilot for that. So let's move on to something else. I think I want to work on the eyes of this beanie just a little bit. I'm going to switch over to a soft brush and start laying down some of those colors. I want to make sure that I'm also following after somebody like Mordekaiser's hat, because he does have that similar hat going on, the beanie. Although these eyes are brown. Usually when it comes to these like ball-like meshes, you kind of want to go a bit darker somewhere around the middle, towards the bottom. And then as you go towards the light source, it'll get brighter and more yellow, or more warm in color, I mean, hue. Then I want to make sure that I'm being consistent with some of the other skins. So let's see, they kind of have like two highlights, like the ball lights on their eyes. I'm not really sure what that term is. Let's see, Heimerdinger has kind of a similar thing happening. And Willump. The ball on Oriana has two, has one down up there and down there. This does look quite detailed. So let's go ahead and add some of those details. So I'm just going to very lightly plop down some strokes. And then I grab some black here. To do the actual people, I believe. That's what it's called. Now that we have that, then we add our highlights. I'm going to see if Sia did it differently. Just kind of added like a ball here. This does look a little bit cursed. It does not look right. And I'm not sure why. Major cursed, yes. I'm just gonna look at Heimer's as an example. I'm actually just gonna get rid of the pupil. See if that helps me do a better job. I'm just focusing on the iris part. I'm gonna get rid of the highlight as well. Okay. And I'll probably just leave it there for now while I work on something else. I usually like to jump around the model quite a bit just to kind of keep everything rendered at the same level instead of like hyper focusing on one specific area. Because sometimes I'm like working on a different material and I'm like, oh, I really like the way I rendered this in a kind of a different way, and then I kind of apply that knowledge to whatever other material I work on. Place in a bit of a highlight. And then the pink, kind of on the inner corner. I like this iridescent flower petal material, it's really pretty. I think I'll do the same for flower petals up here. Mostly keeping that pink concentrated in the areas that are closer to her hair because white is a reflective material and it will bounce off any color from surrounding objects. So I'm also going to have to add some yellow here as well, just a little bit. Maybe I'll shift it towards orange and keep it pretty bright. So I just kind of lightly pop that in, especially towards the shadow. So we can keep those shadows nice and bright, relatively. And it kind of gives that like glowing effect as well. So if you're ever working on a skin and you kind of want to paint something that looks like it's glowing, to make it look like that, you had to make materials reflect onto each other, their color. So where we see the highlight, it's going to be a little less yellow. Hello, Coffee. Welcome to the stream. Okay. And then as we go a bit darker, we want to shift our color towards a blue. And just sort of lightly paint in some shadows back in. That helps to add some depth. Okay. And then I want bottom of the petal to be a bit of like that bell curve highlight that we're talking about for the hair. And this top part a bit as well. So the highlight is going to be at the middle. Alright. It's an improvement from before. So let's work on the arms here. Okay, I'm just going to kind of color pick from the legs because I feel like there's more contrast there. Colors to pick from. Now I don't expect this green material to be as reflective as the yellow or the petals, so I'm gonna try and keep it pretty concentrated to that green color. You don't want to make everything sort of reflective because then it just kind of looks like a blended mess. Also keeping in mind some anatomy here. So there's going to be a crease where her elbow is. Let me turn on the wireframe so I can see that. This is where her arm bends. I'm thinking for the ambient light on this to kind of go for a bluish color. So I'm just adding some creases just to add some detail. Because I kind of want this to be kind of a loose fabric. Not quite like loose, but like I don't really know how to describe it, but crinkly in a way. Like it's definitely skin tight, but it's also like a bit loose in some parts. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back and get our highlight. And just sort of very lightly plop that on to break up those dark parts. Okay, and that helps to add some detail, so it's not just like a plain green material. And then I'm going to shift this color towards blue and sort of go for a brighter value. And if I can get the underside of that arm, just going to very very lightly plop this color. So that way there's a little bit of something going on. Obviously, it would make more sense to have that color be yellow instead of this blue. But like I said, we want to try and not blend everything together. So this inner part here, kind of a little bit shiny, which is nice. I feel like plants are generally pretty reflective. Okay, and then I'm also going to render out this leg a bit more. Let's see. I'm gonna increase my stroke velocity. This song is kind of annoying. Very repetitive. Autosave is great, but sometimes I like to save immediately after I see that. It's kind of like a good reminder. OMG, hi, I'm always watching the recordings and I love to play that skin. Oh. Thank you for watching and supporting my channel. Oh, I don't know how to say that. Joao. I tried, but thank you. And yeah, I'm gonna try and get her finished before Vanguard comes to League, because we are not sure what's gonna happen with custom skins when it does. And I want to make sure that you guys get to try this skin out. I'll also be doing a zillion ASU, because that's what people voted for. I put up this poll on Twitter, if you guys don't know about it, and I was basically asking, like, what should my next project be to make before Vanguard comes? So that way, like, it could be like my last final project that could be a playable custom skin. And so I had like High Noon, Syndra, Ocean Song, Lysandra, and Count Gangplank, which is the concept I made. And people ended up voting for the Zillion ASU, which was also another option. And so we're gonna be starting on that like on the next stream. So that's probably gonna be on Thursday or Friday, we'll see. Most likely Thursday though. It's the same, stream time is always the same, so you guys will know, and YouTube should notify you. Alright, I think that's decent for the leg, a little bit of something. And right now let's see, the skirt, where is the pink? It's the same layer as the hair, so right now it's kind of working off that gradient grayscale, top of the grayscale. So what I want to do is kind of add a paint layer on top of the gradient, so that way I can mess around with the colors here. And when I go back to render the hair, it's not going to have this paint layer. What is this weirdness? Sometimes painting in camera mode doesn't really get you the results you want, so you have to switch over to UV And now I can get rid of whatever that weird bake mistake is happening. Okay, just making sure I'm color picking from the concepts, keeping this kind of a purple tint. And then towards the middle, kind of go towards orange. I want to do this in camera alignment. Where's my brush? Just thinking about where that highlight would be placed. And trying to blend it out. It's a pretty intense highlight, so obviously the brighter we go, the tighter the concentration needs to be. Okay. That looks about right. And we want to lighten up these midtones. Kind of want to plop down some pink color, mix that in. Because these petals are kind of like reddish, but they're also kind of the same color as the hair, so. Reddish, but also orange, so. All right, that looks good enough for now, and then let's move on to the yellow. Now for this, I definitely want to stick to working with color instead of trying to do grayscale. Oops. I'm gonna switch over to hard round brush. And we don't have that brown line in yet, but I'm just thinking about where that's gonna be. And just kind of working accordingly. Should have a version of her body without the hair in the way. Let me turn on the wireframe, make sure that the highlight is following along this bend. Okay, and then kind of make this a bit darker so that highlight pops out more. And then those petals are white. So I'm going to do my best to select them. Let's check out the UV view, because that's probably going to make things a bit easier. I'm just kind of roughly selecting where I believe it is. All right. Okay. So a little bit different from the concept because I blended the sleeve with the petals a bit. And that's just for ease of rigging, to be honest. So I'll do my best to make it look like the concept. So what are you all doing right now that are in the stream? I actually have a exciting collaboration with a big time YouTuber, and I'm sure most of you kind of figured out what that is or who that is, and what the project is as well. And I believe he'll be streaming today or over the weekend. But when he does, I will repost on my Twitter what that is, and then you guys will see the project that I worked on. Trying to recreate Ari in Stardew Valley for my character. Oh, that's cute. Are you finding success? I haven't really worked with yellow that much. I definitely feel myself like a bit like, is this the right color? Kinda. Alright, I want to make sure to add this shadow along this bottom edge. And then at the back of the hair, or the back of the, on her back, make sure to add some highlights. Now, obviously she has like really big hair, so we're not really gonna see, realistically there's not gonna be much shadow or highlight that's gonna be, or light that's gonna be catching onto her back. So I kind of want to keep it minimal. Okay, so let's see how we look without the wireframe. render some of the skirt here. Switch over to soft brush. Make sure to keep my color dark. So I can actually see some shadow here. Trying to get that top-down shadow to be visible from that angle. So the shadow is going to be something like that. And yeah, it looks ugly right now, but now that we have that cast shadow, then we can go in and start kind of lightening that color. And so because there's a pinkish petal sitting on top, we're going to add some pink bounce light. Some of that pink will reflect onto the yellow. Create a bit of an orange. Not too much, I want to keep it a bit subtle. Okay. And then she needs a shadow on her legs. It's kind of bothering me that we don't see that yet. So let's add that. And shift the color towards a warmer color. Or actually cooler tone. Cooler tone, because we are talking about shadow. And I need to have mirror mode on. I'm going to turn off backface culling and just plop down the shadow. Check out from the top-down view. I think about there is a good length. Okay, that seems good. It might be too dark, so let's kind of brighten it up a bit. Okay, we'll leave that there. And then, what else do we need to work on? Let's kinda, I think it's mostly the hair. Like the hair is kind of the biggest part of her whole character, so I'm gonna work on her wings a little bit. So that is right here, I believe. And I'm just gonna copy off of Nunu, or Heimerdinger rather. So it looks like there is a dark gradient. Whoops, need to make sure I'm on the right layer. So we're on white. Just kind of plop that color. Alright, so it's this one, and I'm just going to paint it in UV mode. I believe this also has transparency in game, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll show you guys how to do transparency in Substance Painter. I'm going to switch over to Hard Edge Brush. is there a particular bee skin that you guys like that exists in the game? I think for me it would probably be Oriana, Orbiana rather, because I feel like it was a nice like change of pace for her. Like it's a cutesy skin. It also kind of made her a bit more human-like, but at the same time like not all the way. So it's almost like a glimpse into what her human version probably looked like before her transformation into a robot. Alright, so we have a nice gradient going on. So there's a little bit of like grading happening in Substance Painter. Now I'm not sure if this is like a substance problem or something, but usually I like to, if I see that happening, I kind of just export the texture out and bring it into Photoshop, so that way I can do some cleanup. And then when I re-import back the texture, it's not going to have that grading effect. For those of you who don't know, grading is kind of like whenever there's those rough transitions in a gradient. So I'm going to see if there's an example I can show. Grading on gradient. I think that's what it's called. I'm trying to see if, and that has to be the right term. Color grading effects. But it's kind of like where you can kind of see some lines or stuff happening, like this transition between the colors is not that smooth. So that's what that effect I'm talking about. So I'm just going to open this in Photoshop. Okay. And this is the wing that I'm working on. You can see it a lot clearer in Photoshop. See these like weird lines happening. So I'm going to use my smudge brush around 30% opacity and just blend that out. And it's going to do a much better job than Substance. And sometimes I feel like I have a much better time texturing in Photoshop than Illustrator, or not Illustrator, Substance. So I will go in here and kind of like just texture this out. And I'm going to just go ahead and do the wing detail. Why is my brush sensitivity not there? Kind of like a leaf texture. And then I usually like to go in and put my smudge brush at a much higher strength and just kind of smooth out those lines, the edges of those lines. And we're about at the 1 hour mark, so if you guys have any questions or comments you want to make before I wrap up this stream here, please do so within the next 5 minutes. I think tomorrow, I'm going to decide to move on to the Zillion ASU. We're going to get that started. So I'm going to be blocking him out in ZBrush and figuring out like what his new rig would theoretically look like with his new model. And we're pretty much technically building a character from scratch, including the rig. So it's not like making a new skin and working off an existing rig. I'm actually just straight up doing a new character, because his current rig is terrible. He doesn't really have support for some of the new stuff that we'll be adding. So I believe the new design kind of has like flowing, like a really long mustache that would be kind of flowing around in game. And he also has kind of like a loincloth piece that is being used for his beard, like where it tucks into his belt. So we're going to be creating bones for that. And yeah, basically I have to use a new rig because his current one is horrible. And luckily for me, Zillion only has 15 animations. 15. That is like possibly the lowest number of animations I've ever seen on a character for League. And so for me, it's not going to be that much to work with. So it should be relatively easy to remake those animations, which I think I'll do on stream, show you guys kind of my process for doing that. But yeah, that is for tomorrow, I guess. We'll do it tomorrow instead of leaving it for Friday. Also going to saturate the wings just a little bit, especially towards the end. And use a little bit of dodge tool, just kind of brighten up the end. Saturate just a bit more. I think around there is good. I'm going to saturate the petals that we did for her skirt as well. Mostly focusing on the midtone. Alright, save that, and then we import the texture back into Substance. Project ZoBee. Alright, and then I usually get rid of the paint layer because it's already on the texture that I exported. And I think I might as well get rid of all the other layers as well within that mask. And boop! We didn't lose anything. So there we go, we got the wings now. They look all cute, and they match up with the other skins, that's great. And so now I can just add a paint layer on top and start working on top of the texture that I already created. And this is great. This is a great method for keeping your Substance Painter scene running quickly without being bogged down by all these like paint layers. And I think it kind of blends better too when you paint on top. Kind of want to do a little bit of that bell curve here. And we are at the end of the stream here. It looks like nobody else had any comments or questions. So I'm just going to finish painting these flower petals and then we'll call off the stream. But thank you guys so much for joining and giving me some company. Tomorrow we'll be working on the Zillion ASU, as I said, and that'll be it for the week. Next week we'll rinse and repeat, do the same thing. We'll work on ZoBee for one day, and then the next day we'll work on Zillion. I might do 1 week where I work on ZoBee twice, like 2 days in a row, because We want to get her out completely before Vanguard. And that way I can just focus on her and then put all my focus on Zillion afterwards. So we're not working on 2 projects at the same time. Anyways, I think that's it for the little petals. And this is where we're at. Not bad. We made a lot of progress on the white materials in particular, I feel like. This petal up here, these petals appear kind of dark, so I need to brighten that up just a bit more. And the hair, we kind of made some progress there as well. That's obviously going to be like the biggest part of this whole skin. So that's going to take quite a bit of time rendering. And I mean, we did the eyeballs a little bit. They look cursed, so I just want to give that like some time to sit in there. Maybe I'll work with the yellows more on the next stream. The greens, we obviously made progress, but yeah. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining and watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, the notification bell if you want to be notified for whenever I go live, which will be tomorrow. So don't miss out on that stream. I think you guys are going to really like that project. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. All right. And